Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? I want to talk about something tonight that I think is very, very important. Probably one of the most important aspects of blockchain and scalable blockchain, which I'm referring to EOS as blockchain, because EOS is the only blockchain in town because of the ability to scale to whatever needs, whatever transactions per second, whatever content needs to be put on the blockchain. EOS is the only blockchain able to do that right now. So when I refer to blockchain, I'm also referring to EOS because no other blockchain can do what EOS does. But what I want to talk about tonight is I want to talk about how blockchain can solve world poverty. This is very important to me, and it should be important to everybody, because it's fun to sit here and count your coins and say, man, if these coins go to $100 a token, look at all my money, I'm gonna have a lot of money. And if that's really a good thing, and I'm real happy for people when that happens, and I'm glad when everybody makes money. But when you know that a third of the world is in abject poverty, you know, kids go to sleep hungry, people are really in, you know, desperate needs. You can't feel good about yourself when you make a ton of money or make a lot of money doing something with blockchain or EOS. But at the same time, people around the world, other places, aren't so lucky, and they're in need. And if that doesn't bother you, to know people are in need when we all have probably a lot more than we need. Then you need to get up, look at yourself in the mirror, and reevaluate who you are, because your soul's not correct. Because it should bother you. It should bother you that people around the world are in poverty and they're in need of help. So what I want to talk about tonight is I want to talk about how blockchain EOS can help solve world poverty, world hunger, and world need. And I'm going to break it down into three categories. The three categories I think that would solve world poverty is, number one, housing, where people live. The second one is hunger, making sure people have plenty of food to eat. And the third is just human activity, making sure people have a prosperous way to make a living. So in the first way, as far as how blockchain can help to solve housing or where people live, is I'll give an analogy of I'm from Nebraska. I grew up in western Nebraska, and where I grew up, there was a Homestead Act, and a lot of people homesteaded property. So, you know, it wasn't uncommon for people back there to say, well, my granddaddy's dad homesteaded this property, and we've been on this property ever since. And the reason, it wasn't there was a lack of land. There was plenty of land. And I think that's the way the world is. There's plenty of land. The problem is people investing their lives into making that land inhabitable so people can live on it. So somebody's got to go out and dig the well. Somebody's got to clear the trees or the brush or whatever debris is on land, you know, whatever it needs to be cleared. The rocks need to be taken off. They need to do that. And for people to invest their lives into making a piece of property worth living on, they need to have something in return. They need to have some structure in place so that if they invest their lives in a piece of property, they're rewarded for it. And that's the way it was where I'm from. You know, people would dig wells, make the property so it would be farmable, so there would be water on it. And when they did that, they were rewarded. They were rewarded with the rights to ownership of that property. And I think so much of the world is lacking that structure for people to be able to, if they invest their lives in a piece of property, to be able to have some protection. And I think blockchain is a perfect way to protect that and give a structure to people that want to take their lives and invest in a piece of property, the land. We're not, and the world's not lacking in land. It's lacking in human effort to make the land so you can live on it, to build a house, to dig a well, to clear a field, whatever. That's the problem. You got to have the human investment. Nobody wants to put the human investment into it until they know they can be rewarded and protected by ownership rights and by the ability to to get rewarded for what they do. Number one, that's number one way I think blockchain can solve human poverty The second way I think it can solve poverty is through hunger. You know, I talked a little bit yesterday about the supply side chain, how things are distributed around the world, and how everything could be tracked and everything could be distributed from the time that it's made to the time it's actually consumed on the blockchain. I don't believe that the world is lacking in food. I believe it's lacking in the ability to use that food or take that food and have it distributed in a way that there isn't any waste or any way that it's more efficiently used. And I think the blockchain is a great way to do that. The blockchain is able to track everything from beginning to end, like I say, from production to consumption. And by doing that, I think that will help and could possibly end hunger in these places in the world where people are hungry and they need food. Blockchain would be a perfect way of helping distribute those resources in a more efficient way. And in that way, I think it could help to solve hunger problems around the world. And then the third way I think it can solve human poverty and human struggle is by simply creating activity for people. Being able to have somebody be able to do something to make a living. So many people are in places in the world where maybe farming isn't good. I mean, maybe the land isn't fertile, and they can't plant a crop and even live on the amount of food that they produce off the land. But by being on the internet, by having technology, by being able to develop skills that are marketable around the world, somebody in a very poor country can learn how to do something on the internet that's valuable to somebody else that's willing to pay for that. And then the ability to move money around. So if you're in a country and you develop a skill and that skill is desired in another part of the world and you can market that skill, now to be able to pay for it by using some cryptocurrency, by being able to exchange some token, is a way to solve human hunger, human poverty, and human struggle. And this is the way I think blockchain will function, can function. And this is to me, the most, it's the most important part of blockchain. It's the most important part of EOS, is to be able to scale to a point to where they could help to solve human suffering and human struggle. And that's the part to me that I believe is the most exciting. And that's the part to me that I would believe that people would be, most interested in, is using blockchain to help to end poverty and misery around the world. And then with housing, hunger, and the ability to make a living, now you can start to improve someone's life by having better health. Once you have the resources to, be able to purchase somebody's or purchase better health, or buy medicines and other things people need to survive or live with, if surgeries and all this other stuff, all that can come about if there's prosperity. All that happens when there's infrastructure. All that happens is when the infrastructure works and the supply side chain works and all that works. All this becomes more efficient, and people can actually, be able to do, be able to have a prosperous life, be able to have a life like a third of the world has a life that they a good living. 2/3 of the world has a life that's below standard, that they poverty, and then a third of the world has a horrible life. So I think blockchain can do something to help human misery, human struggling, and that's what we should all be very focused on, very interested in, and the reason we should really believe in these projects that are being done. Believe in the project like EOS. Believe in these projects, because these projects could change human life around the world. And I mean, that's my belief, and I think, with good reason, that's my belief, that human life can be improved with EOS, with companies like EOS, with blockchain. And that's one of the real reasons why I really love these projects. One of the reasons why I want to make the videos and promote projects like this, because I really do think that it's a way to help mankind and help everybody throughout the world. And we should all be thinking about that, and we should all be concerned with that, because nobody can go to sleep at night knowing that somebody else is hungry in the world. You just can't feel good about that. So anyway, a video I've wanted to make for a while. I'm glad I made it because I really do believe in it. I just hope it turned out well, and I hope people can understand what it is I'm saying, because it is something we should all be very, very, very hopeful, and we should be all very invested in. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.